All right, Vandy fans, Sean Williams here, along with Justin Angel. We're back on the Vandy Sports YouTube channel, talking recruiting because Vanderbilt's been busy on the recruiting trail lately. They've picked up 2 new commitments. We haven't got a chance to talk about Cole Spence yet, so we're going to talk about him. We're also going to talk about the new commitment, quarterback Drew Dickey. You always got to get a quarterback every class. Vanderbilt, well, they got one pretty quick after offering him. But we'll talk about him a little bit as well. So we'll flip the script over here and get right to it. And we'll take a just a closer look at my Catalina Island there as I pull this up. We'll take a look at Vanderbilt's class overall. 5 commitments right now for the Commodores in the 2022 class. Current team ranking according to Rivals.com at number 33. As you can see, there are the 2 new ones, Drew Dickey, Cole Spence. They committed within 4 days of each other, and then you had the wave of 3 that initially kicked things off back on March 22nd. So there are your 5 current commitments for Vanderbilt right now. Justin, just get your thoughts on the 5 early commitments for the Commodores right now. And we were talking about this before we hit record. Class is probably going to be pretty small. I think talking to Chris Lee on his podcast, and I think I mentioned it on these before, I think just going through and looking at the roster, I think I kind of like 16 seniors, fifth-year senior type guys. So it's going to be a relatively small class. There probably will be more than 16 in this class with attrition and everything once fall starts and everything like that. But transfers, and you got to consider that as well. But it's going to be probably a relatively small class. But initial thoughts, impressions of the 5 commitments so far?
Well, just looking at it is, the size that they've gotten so far. You had Cole Spence and then Linus Zunk. Both of those are 6'6". I mean, those are big guys. And then you got BJ Diacott, who's another big jumbo type athlete that could play, either side of the ball. And, Langston Patterson is the big in-state commitment that they got. That's one of those that they really needed to kind of kick the class off. But, as the ones you were talking about, quarterback is usually the position that commits the quickest because the spots start running out quicker at the quarterback position because most teams only get 1, maybe 2. And then once the first dominoes start to drop, then it usually goes pretty quick. So, you were always expecting a quarterback to commit at some point. And, I think they got a good one here in Drew Dickey.
Yeah. We'll first start off with, and we'll talk about him in a minute, we'll first start off with Cole Spence, who committed back on April 1st. This one really wasn't a shock. We initially talked to him back in February. Before he even got an offer, I think he tweeted out he had a conversation with the coaching staff, so we definitely gave him a follow, started talking to him. He's like, yeah, I love Vanderbilt. They've been one of my top schools since, like last year. And so obviously when they offered back in March, we kind of figured, Cole was probably going to, Vanderbilt was probably going to be a top option for him, and he obviously committed after he came up to West End and did a little self-guided campus tour, and committed to the Commodores shortly after that. So here's Cole Spence, 3-star tight end, 6'6", 225. Did really good at the recent Under Armour camp down there in Atlanta. He's going to be at our Rivals camp in Atlanta too. Later this month, so we'll be able to catch up with him. I'll be down there, so I'll catch up with him then, take some highlights of him down there too. I'm kind of anxious to kind of see him in person, see how he performs. But you see his offer list, and this is a guy we gotta kind of consider. He's got 22 offers on his offer sheet. I think the biggest, you see a lot of good Group of 5 schools that kind of stick out here, like Buffalo, Arkansas State. Some Conference USA schools. Definitely got some Ivies in there. Liberty's another one. Indiana was a Power 5 school that offered. North Carolina, I think, was showing some interest as well. So he was probably going to get some more Power 5 offers. And you got to consider this, Cole and guys like him didn't camp last year too, so that kind of held him back as well. So Yeah, what's your thoughts here on you kind of mentioned Cole already, but what do you kind of like about him? Just looking at his profile here.
It's just like you said. I mean, as far as some of the Group of Five schools that's been in on him, Buffalo, Arkansas State, some of the success that they've had, and then you got Will Healy from Charlotte that offered him as well. But there's several schools that are interested, and then once you get into watching his tape and those things, you can see why those schools liked him, and it's just it's always good to get guys that's got several offers. They got several offers. I mean, there's a lot of people that like them. Especially you want to beat out other Power Five schools. Vanderbilt hasn't always done that in the past. That's something that you want to do, and then having the offer from Indiana and the success that they had this past year. That's a good recruiting win there.
Right. And speaking of highlights, hey, look at here. Here we go. uh, Justin, what do you like about Cole? Just looking at his highlights here.
Well, the thing that pops off to you is he is definitely a receiving threat, and a lot of times when you look at guys that are 6'6" and 220 pounds, they don't really look athletic in space. They look kind of boxy, robotic, those type things. You can see Spence here. He definitely doesn't have that. He's kind of a fluid athlete. You can see his ability to run routes, and something he's able to do is even though he's 6'6", he's still very rangy as far as he can get his hands up, high point the ball, and do those things. But the thing when you're watching is there just isn't many people that's 6'6", that size, that's able to move the way that he is. And the only concern that you have, kind of watching his film. I don't think the competition is just spectacular by any means. And then also, how is he going to be able to block? Is he going to be able to put his hand in the dirt and block down? Is he going to be able to put his hand in the dirt and reach, block, and do those things? He gets to the blocking portion of his film here in just a little bit. But, he's going to definitely have to add some weight to his frame, get up to maybe, 240, 245, whatever it is, to where he still runs and can catch the football the way that he is, but he's also going to have to be able to block and do those things.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned just how good of an athlete he is. I kind of liked that they kind of gave that little inside handoff to him, or a little inside toss there to him, so he can do a lot of different things. Just line it up back there, not only at tight end, but kind of see him line up a little wide, and he's blocking. So really good pickup for Vanderbilt here. And like I said, you beat out a Power 5 school in Indiana that had a great year last year, and that's a huge win for Vanderbilt, considering, Vanderbilt's fortunes last year. So that just kind of goes to show you the buzz that Clark Lee and his staff are having right now. So with that being said, we will flip the script, go to Drew Dickey here. We've got a nice little profile pickup on his profile right now, but Dickey's a guy that's that was kind of making a little bit of noise. I think he went to an Elite 11 regional down in Houston, and I think analysts that were down there were really impressed with his performance. He had the offer sheet's not very big, but I mean, he had an offer from Marshall. He had an early offer from Maryland, and Maryland ended up taking A.J. Swan, and A.J. Swan was another quarterback that Vanderbilt was in on. But Swan committed to Maryland back on March 1st, I think, but it was early March when Swan committed, so I think Maryland kind of got their guy, and Drew was kind of hanging out there. But, Drew's been talking to quarterback coach Joy Lynch for the past couple of months. They offered on Friday night, and he quickly committed on Monday evening. But, the thing is, before that, I think he took a trip to Georgia and was working out with the trainer down there, and he obviously, during that time, he made a trip up to Nashville. So he, once again, like Cole Spence, he took the time to visit West End and take a self-guided tour of Vanderbilt and check it out in person. Obviously, it was, Vanderbilt at the time hadn't offered him yet, but they were showing a lot of interest. So whenever they extended that offer, it didn't really take him too long to make a commitment. He committed during a Zoom call with the entire staff on Monday evening. So that's how that kind of came about. So with that being said, we will, and once again, this is Probably a guy that you look at his offer sheet. He only had three offers total. Marshall, Maryland, Vanderbilt. But I think he would have a lot more if he had the ability to go camp.
Right.
Last summer. And get his eyes and more. Head coach's eyes in front of him and coach's eyes in front of him too. So let's take a look here. Obviously, I like when quarterbacks, especially, but any skill position players put their stats at the front of their highlights. It's a nice little thing.
Makes
to
our
do.
job a whole lot easier.
Right. Especially when we're writing stories. I'm like, man, I wish I had his stats, and I like it when they're right in front of us. So, but I just wanted to kind of look at that. Obviously, led his team to an undefeated state championship. Now plays in kind of a private league down there in Austin, Texas. So, once again, you kind of talked about competition with Cole Spence. Maybe a little bit of a knock on Drew Dickey. When you talk about competition, maybe he's not playing the top competition in Texas, but the competition he's playing against, he is dominating in that league that they play in. You look at his 70% completion percentage.
That's what I was fixing to say.
Yeah.
That's the stat right there that jumps off at you pretty
Right.
quick. So
Yeah, 70%, 1,861 yards, 25 touchdown passes, and you look at the runs too, and that's the thing that's really going to stick out. I know when Dickey got offered, there's people, I can't remember who asked me on the board to maybe compare him and Caden Cobb's highlights, and look, Dickey's running ability on his highlights is tremendous, and obviously his passing ability too. But I mean, he shows off his ability to run it, and it's not just scramble, pick up a few yards. He can scramble and take it to the house. So you look at
yes,
his rushing yards as well, 741 out of 14 rushing touchdowns. So we'll hit play here. We'll expand this out. Justin Angel, what do you like here?
well, it's like you're talking about. I mean, you got the dual threat element here that Dickey brings to you. In today's game and how it's going, and with the RPOs and all of those things. I mean, it's just, I think in today's game, college football wise, you need a quarterback that can run the football. Now, I'm not saying that he can't throw it; all he does is run, but just having that extra element gives you one up as far as hats in the run game, and just helps you out tremendously on offense. But, as you watch here, he's able to run the football, does a really good job of that. He's an extremely accurate passer. Just putting the ball where it needs to be. And, a lot of times those guys that are really good as far as running, what they'll do they'll want to take off and run all the time. I don't think he's doing that most of the time when he's running, like he's running dash right here,
Mm-hmm.
reading the defensive end. He runs outside, boom, he pulls it, runner. So, that's something I like about his game. I don't think his arm strength is just jumps out at you by any stretch, but, he does a good job of fitting it into the windows that he needs to. And like we've already talked about, he's extremely accurate.
Right. Just like you mentioned arm strength, and I'll agree with you there on your assessment. But I think arm strength can be a little bit overrated. Just be accurate 15, 20 yards down the field. That's what you're throwing most of the time. You're not throwing deep balls a
Right.
lot. In games. So, but yeah, I like the film. He's accurate. He's efficient. Usually accuracy when you're throwing 70%. And you can run the ball, you're going to be efficient, and not turn the ball over. So that's a good sign too, and
Right. And when you're talking about, being accurate and doing those things, when you start talking about the RPO game and, hey, I'm going to run a backside slant and I'm going to read the backside linebacker, and, if he comes and I'm going to pull it and throw it to the slant, or, if he stays out there in the window, then I'm going to take off running with it. You don't have to have just unbelievable arm strength to do that.
yeah,
You just got to be accurate and be able to fit it in there. You see the things at Alabama. Granted it is Alabama, I understand that, but what Sarkisian did as far as offensively there was really good. I mean, most of the things were just RPOs, and you're either going to run a quick slant or some type of slant to get open, or you're going to run a speed out, and it just puts so much pressure on your defenses when you're able to do that, and somebody that's accurate and can put it in there where he needs to. I mean, that gives you that element.
Yeah, and another thing I think it's kind of interesting to kind of bring up too, just his ability to run and watching it on film. You just imagine Vanderbilt's had really good running backs, for the past 10 years, So to have a guy like
Yes.
him back there with a couple other talented running backs, you can do a lot of different things in the backfield and in terms of offensive formations and things like that. When you got another running threat back there, that's your quarterback. You can do so much different things in terms of being an offensive threat. So I think
Right.
that's
And something else too is I noticed, when you were looking at his huddle profile, something that had on there position wise, it had quarterback linebacker on there.
yeah.
So so the guy has played linebacker at some point. Okay, all right, and if he's that fast and physical and has played linebacker, he's probably a tough kid as well. So that's
Right.
something else. It's a positive.
Yeah, especially when you see him take off and run up the middle. I don't think he's afraid of contact at all, so that's obviously a good thing. But yeah, two really good offensive pickups for Vanderbilt here. Like I said, they got started off with three defensive commitments to start off the bat. And now they've got two offensive in the last two. And I know BJ Diakite's on Rivals, he's listed as a tight end, but he told me he is going to probably play outside linebacker.
Outside linebacker is what he looks
Yeah.
like.
So yeah,
His rivals profile said outside linebacker. To
it did.
start.
Yeah, but he
I don't know what guy made that profile, but that's what it said to start.
he worked out at tight end at the Under Armour camp in Georgia recently, and Sam Spiegelman, our national analyst, was down there. So that's how they ranked him by position of tight end. So, but anyway, enough about that.
I'm still salty about it.
I'm not complaining about it. I'm just telling you that's how it went, man.
I know.
All right.
I appreciate Sam and what he does.
You cut out a couple of times during the Drew Dickey during the Drew Dickey video. I thought I lost you there for a second, so you came back though.
Oh, okay. Well, I noticed that it froze up on me there.
Yeah,
well, maybe it's just what it is. I just keep on talking.
yeah, I guess so. I hope. I was hoping to. I was thinking about bringing it back and making it look like a Godzilla movie where you're like talking, but your words weren't literally matching up because it froze up. I don't know. That would have been cool. But it all worked out well. So yeah, that's the look at the latest commitments for Vanderbilt. They've got 5, like I said. Kind of went through the roster. Got 16 fifth-year seniors listed on the roster. So, like I said, we've heard it's going to be a small class. Not sure if 16 is going to be the number. It might be a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. You just never know with transfers. They might add some more transfers, maybe a couple. I know Clark Lee said he's not big on transfers, but first year there, you got holes to fill. You're going to kind of look at different avenues to fill those. So,
and they're going to have some holes to fill.
yeah, definitely. Justin, anything else to add to this video before we head out?
Well, the only thing is Drew Dickey would be the first commitment they've got that's outside the 5-hour radius. So,
Yeah, there you go.
People's talked about it, So
right. Well, I
we
think
might as well bring it up.
I think when this class is signed, I think you'll see a large percentage of the class probably make up the 5-hour radius they're talking about. Just my opinion. Yeah, I mean you got to go outside and take.
I know some people are not happy about it, but I'm all for it. So.
Well, and I think there's just too much talent in the 5-hour radius that you can grab as many kids as you want to fill a class.
Right.
And look, Texas has been.
And the thing about it is, when he talks about the 5-hour radius, that doesn't mean that they're just getting kids from the 5-hour radius. I mean,
Right.
it's not a new concept. I mean, I've heard Dan Mullen talk about it and several other coaches, just typically if they're in that range in a 5-hour car ride away from
Right.
wherever they're going to school at, usually you have a better odds of getting those kids.
Yep.
That's not to say some kid from, Colorado that really wants a Vanderbilt type education and playing the Southeastern Conference won't come,
Yeah.
and they're still going to go after that guy. But
Yeah, I agree.
You take care of the home base first, and then venture out from there. I really like that aspect of it. And talking to our head coach over at Lebanon High School, Chuck Gentry, said, how much he's talked to Clark Lee's staff in the past, since he's taken over, is more than what the previous staff was doing, 3 or 4 years before that. So.
Well, that's good. Did Chuck pay you to mention his name on this video?
No, he did not.
Slip you a 20 or something?
I just thought it out. I mean,
okay.
If he's saying that, there's other high school coaches saying the same thing.
Well,
we
I didn't
ask him to bring that up. He just said that. So.
Okay. Well,
they're not even able to be on the road at the moment. So
right.
Imagine if they were able to get out on the road and where they would be in the relationship building and those things. So.
Right. Yeah, that's good to hear, from a local coach's perspective. And, like I said, you're tied into the local coaches community there. So, yeah, it's very positive to hear that. And, yeah, but I was going to mention, look, man, there's a ton of talent in Texas. Texas, that state's been good to Vanderbilt in the past. So,
yes.
That's definitely a state you got to keep recruiting. It's so big. And, it's not 5 hours away, but, you can get some guys there that want to play in the SEC. That's for sure.
Right. Absolutely.
All right. With that being said, I think that about do it for us. Justin Angel, appreciate it as always, and I'll always click the reminder because I didn't mention it as we started, but always subscribe to vandysports.com for your football, basketball, and baseball news. Obviously, recruiting as well. Vanderbilt just fired Stephanie White. That's a hot topic on our board right now. So, if you're not signed up, you can sign up for a year.
That's an understatement.
You can sign up for a year. Yeah, don't make me laugh, man. Trying to do a promo here, okay? Trying to be professional.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. But you can sign up for a year membership for $9.95 a month. And join our Commodore War Room message board. Lots of funny stuff going on there. Lots of good info. We have a good time in there. Threw up some Beastie Boys giffies the other day, so doing good things. And always on our YouTube channel here, hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell whenever this video drops, which it will probably drop later tonight or in the morning. You will get notified. You can watch it at your leisure. So, and we're going to share it on vandysports.com as well. So, appreciate everybody tuning in and subscribing to our site. I think we're up to 316 last time I checked. We might have got a couple more since I looked. So, we appreciate that. Keep it coming. Always comment, make your comments on any video. That always helps us out as well. So, we appreciate the support, and we'll see you guys on the next video.